Bears Now mailbag time. I'm Harrison Graham. Speaking of Graham, all the Grahams with the question here. Hypothetical. If Mason Graham got past the Raiders at 6, would you try to trade up for him? Okay, that's interesting because a lot of people, as you look at the draft order here, have him maybe going 5 to Jacksonville. If now things could change if Shedeur doesn't go top 3, top 4. Obviously, he won't go 4th, but okay, let's see. He gets past Jacksonville. Maybe the Raiders in this scenario take Jeanty, which would suck for us, but maybe that means Graham slides. If the Jets, who already have Quinnen Williams, don't feel like they need another defensive tackle, could you do some kind of swap with the Jets where you offer 10 and 41 for 7, maybe get like a 4th rounder back or something like that? I could see that being a possibility. I'll say this. If he gets past 5, certainly 6, I'm at least making a call and seeing what the cost is because I do think Mason Graham is a top 5 player in this draft. If you added him to this defensive line room, I think your interior is actually pretty complete, right? On paper, at least for this year, because you would have a rotation of Dexter, Jarrett, Billings, Mason Graham, which is 4 guys, plus Adengbo would rotate in, and then maybe they keep one more guy, whether it's Chris Williams or Zach Pickens, for that final roster spot on that defensive tackle position, and then maybe you add an edge later. So, yeah, I really like Mason Graham. I think he's worthy of going top 5 in this draft. So if he gets that 7-8 spot, I'm at least sniffing around if I'm Ryan Poles, assuming you don't have to give up just a crazy haul to move up 2 or 3 spots. Name a prospect that you'd be willing to trade up for in this draft. I'd also be willing to trade up for Abdul Carter if he got beyond 5, but I don't think I'm moving into the top 5 of this draft at this point in time. A lot of people are wondering now, would you trade up for Ashton Jeanty? I don't know if I'm there yet. That's certainly a scenario we'll discuss as we get closer, but drop a prospect in the chat that you'd be willing to trade up for. All right, Kerry Huss with the super chat. This is back to Jimmy Horn, talking about the Colorado receivers. Shout out this 40 mem biased. I don't know what you mean by that. But I think there will be solid players from Colorado, Craig Horn and Wester. Yeah, we saw the Colorado receivers at the Big 12 Pro Day. Myself, a couple other guys at Chat Sports. Also, who's the Will Shepard is kind of the bigger receiver there. I think he's kind of a sleeper in this draft because he's a 4'5" flat guy at 6'2", 6'3", 210 pounds. I think he's a potential like late day 3 guy that you could bring in to be like your backup X receiver behind Rome Odunze. So definitely intrigued by him as well. NFL Productions here saying, thoughts on Colston Loveland, taking him, and what round would he go in? I think he'll go first round. I think 10 is too early. So I think if the Bears took him, it would be some either trade back from 10 scenario or trade back into the first round if he slid into like the mid-late 20s and the Bears just had a super high grade on him. I kind of think he does fall into that no man's land where the Bears aren't drafting. So, again, it would have to be a trade scenario. I like him. I think he's the second best tight end in this draft. I wish he blocked a little bit better, but maybe he can add that to his game. He's got the frame for it, but works the seam really well. Good route runner, pretty good after the catch. I think in a lot of drafts he'd be like an early day 2 pick, but in this draft, probably a mid-late first round guy. Subscribe to the channel. We are closing in on 120,000 subscribers. We got to get there for sure before the draft. Got to get to 120K. If you want daily Bears content, the latest news, rumors, draft coverage, any free agency signings that still could occur, we're going to hit you guys with a video. So don't miss out. 2+ videos per day here on Bears Now. Subscribe. It's free. All right, Everett, hashtag Bears. Should the Bears dump the lower trades to get another second? The sweet spot this year. What do you mean the lower trades? Should they just trade back? I don't know what you mean by dump the lower trades. But yeah, if you wanted to trade back from 10 to like the late teens and pick up an extra second, I wouldn't be opposed because I do think day 2, especially that second round, is the sweet spot of this draft. So sure, I wouldn't be opposed. It depends who's available at 10. If a blue chipper is there, I would take him. But if not, a trade back scenario is certainly one the Bears should consider. Cornelius Pryor, if the Bears are good, we will be as arrogant as Lions fans. That is true, Cornelius. But I think one big difference is, even though the Bears haven't been some top flight NFL team the last few decades, they have played in a Super Bowl this century. Like the Bears have had good teams. It's been few and far between. The Lions, I mean, dude, they had Barry freaking Sanders and did nothing. They had Calvin Johnson and Matthew Stafford and did nothing. So like at least there's some history with the Bears. I'm not acting like the Bears are some top 5 NFL franchise. But the Lions, I would say for most of my life, along with the Browns, were the 2 worst franchises in the NFL. You could add the Raiders to that as well. The Bears have not been that. Like that. So like 2 good seasons basically ever, and all of a sudden you're a front-running fan base? Come on, man. Like, I'm not saying, who knows, maybe we'd act like that too, but like it's just, it kind of rubbed me the wrong way. It was a little much. Speaking of the draft, draft hats have dropped. I like the model this year, and you can get some different ones available. Snapbacks fitted. You can go more flat bill style. The only thing I don't love is the little design on the bill, but a lot of people like it. So I would probably, I would love this design right here if the bill was just solid blue, but I still like it. I would probably go the solid black with the flag emblem is probably what I would rock with, that one right there. But get yourself one today, chatsports.com/Bears draft hats, chatsports.com/Bears draft hats. And go enjoy one because they're pretty sweet. Forrest Gump, thoughts on Jaden Higgins, other Iowa State players? Like Jaden Higgins a lot. I mocked him to the Bears in my last mock in the second round. I think he's that good of a player. 6'4", 215, sub 4.5 guy. I think he's a really, really good player. If the Bears took him, I think that means DJ Moore moves to the slot primarily because I don't think you're putting Higgins in the slot, at least not a ton. It was kind of a luxury pick in the mock, like a BPA situation. So really good. Jalen Noel, if you want more of that pure slot, could he get to 72? If he's sitting there at 72, be hard for me to pass on him. They also have a tackle in this draft. I think his name is Jalen Travis. Massive guy. He's raw, but if you could develop him, like if you could get him on day 3, he's got the physical attributes you're looking for to be a tackle in the NFL. Jeff Volk, no Mimbu, Warren, Jeanty, Campbell, Graham at 10. There's no trade down. Do you take Hampton at 10? I do think that's like a worst case scenario. And then if you end up with Hampton, you're kind of like, hey, we did what we could, right? You can only control so much. And that scenario's there. Like there's a couple scenarios where you could kind of get stuck at 10. And that's why, like, if there could be a path where you take a Omarion Hampton right there. So if that's how it plays out, that's how it plays out. I think that's kind of like a worst-case scenario, and that's not a bad worst-case scenario in my opinion. I think Hampton can contribute heavily from day one. Are you going to a Bears game this year? Do you plan on doing that? Type Y for yes, type N for no. Curious to see if you guys are going to head to a Bears game this fall, whether it's at Soldier Field or on the road, yes or no. And if you are, let us know which game you're planning on going to. Saquads, Barkley, does Tet saying he doesn't watch film hurt his stock? Feels like he fits the Raiders culture. Well, I think there's probably going to be a bit of a culture shift there with Pete Carroll taking over. I think there's a lot of nuance to that quote. If that's a quarterback, I'm really bothered by it because quarterbacks have to watch film on their own time. Tet was saying, I watch film, in the wide receiver meetings. Now, do you love the quote? No. But, like, if I'm a team that loves McMillan and loves what he brings to the table, am I just off him because of some quote when I don't even know when that clip was from? I don't think so. I think this guy, you want any player you take to go above and beyond in the film study, but, like, I don't know how much individual film work for a receiver really matters. Not saying it doesn't matter at all, but you're still going to get in your team film work in the day. Also, when he said that, it could have just been an immature moment. You get into an NFL building, like these team standards are a lot different. He was playing at Arizona. He was like king on that campus, so it's a little bit different. But there has been some draft fatigue on him. Like, could he slide? And that was before that clip. So I'm not sure. For the Jeanty people, which I'm one of those, I'm not all like it has to be Jeanty for the Bears, but Ted at 6 was kind of an avenue you were rooting for to the Raiders. So not sure if that clip changes anything. I would think probably not, but guess we'll have to wait and see. Jacob03, hashtag Bears, pick one in case they all fall to 10. Campbell, Jeanty, or Graham. I would order that Graham, Jeanty, Campbell. That would be my order. If the Bears are sold on Campbell as a left tackle, you could talk me into him and that, moving him up a slot or even at the top of that trio. But if they aren't sold, then I still really like him, but he would be third on that list with Graham as first and Jeanty second. All right, guys, we got to as many of you guys as we could. If we didn't get to your question, fire in the DMs on social media at HGramNFL on Twitter and on Instagram. DMs are wide open. Started catching up on some DMs over the weekend. We will continue to surf through those and get back to you guys.